just getting everything set up here before we go live on air. We have about 2-3 minutes before we go live on air. So we have Detective Bill Brown. I always get the department wrong. So can you please, for the sake of me embarrassing myself, can you please tell me the name of the department that you're with?
She's referring to the internet crimes against children.
Okay. I think he's having a hard time hearing.
It's kind of looking like he's froze up.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm with the ICAC Department of Internet Crimes Against.
Yeah, his connection's freezing up.
Oh no.
We might have to get you to jump on somebody else's computer, Bill.
Is mine freezing up?
It's freezing up. It's
Okay.
going now. Maybe it was just temporary.
See if I can join it with the hotspot on my phone. See if
Okay.
that'll help it.
Okay.
I'm actually using a laptop myself because the desktop computers that we have here at the PD don't come with cameras, and so we weren't really ready for this COVID quarantine, the social distancing thing.
I know. We've been forced to literally readjust our whole life.
A lot of people have.
I would say I had a conversation with someone Monday, and I was saying that one of the upsides of 2020 has pushed us to be more ingenuitive, if that's the word,
Yeah.
more creative, to say the least.
Yes. A little bit different skill set required, a little bit different kind of mechanisms being used to communicate.
Because I wonder if, the DJs from the 1960s and 70s would ever think you could ever do a radio show outside of a studio.
Right.
That we would be here. I do miss the studio, but yeah.
Bill, I think you might be working a little bit better now.
Well, good deal.
Okay. All right, y'all. So we are getting ready to go live on air. We got about 30 seconds. We got to get to the legal ID. We got to do that first. And so if you have any questions, comments for the Jonesboro Police Department, please feel free to drop them in our Facebook live feed, and we will try to address them as time allows. So again, we have Detective Bill Brown from Internet. Okay.
Internet crimes against children.
Internet crimes. Okay, we're going live. Just a minute. Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday to you. It's the first Wednesday of the month. You're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. You know what that means. Usually it's Chief Rick Elliott with us, but we have some other wonderful members from the Jonesboro Police Department. We have Assistant Chief Lynn Waterworth. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
All right. And we have Detective Bill Brown. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. And let's go ahead and dive right into our conversation. I'm sure there are quite a few things happening around Jonesboro. We'll first start with Assistant Chief. Can you give us some updates on what's been happening in Jonesboro? What do the citizens need to know going into the end of the year?
Going into the end of the year, stay safe, wear your mask, social distance. We've all been doing I've learned that the string that holds this mask around my neck is one of my best friends. That's how I can keep up with everything. Things are different because of social distancing, because kids are out of school and doing a lot of online learning and things like that. Things are different for us here at the police department, and things are different for all the citizens as well. And so I think to add to all of the important things that we need to remember as far as CDC guidelines with COVID, the thing we're going to talk about today is huge. You know, we've got a lot of kids online, and the parents and caregivers, we've all got to do a much better job of trying to watch out for those kids that are going to be online a lot over the next several months.
And I just want to say, bless you, Detective Brown and your team. I don't even want to know half of the things that you all see as you're scouring the dark internet, dark web as it's called, and just looking at these various sites and just trying to make sure our children are staying safe. And you're trying to take down these predators that are going after our children. So let's just dive right into it. What are some of the numbers looking like? Let's just start with Cricket County as far as children being targeted or, I don't know,
Well, as
predators.
far as the numbers go, I don't have the exact number, but as far as cases, they keep us busy. There's so many predators out there, and unfortunately, the kids are so innocent, and so they don't realize that just because they're on a certain site, they're brought up to trust everybody, and so they're talking to kids, which sometimes really ain't kids, they're adults posing as kids.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And so, do you by chance have any statistics on how many people possibly you all have been able to arrest or maybe put a target on, just within this area, our area, whatever area you cover?
Well, within the past couple of months, we've had about 10 arrests the past 2 months. For the year, like I said, we've been really busy this year.
Wow.
Now, I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in
Oh,
front of
that's
me as far
fine.
as total arrest.
Well, let's talk about what can parents and caregivers do to help to keep their children safe. What are some things they need to look for? And then maybe what are some restrictions they need to put on their computers to keep kids from going too deep into the internet and finding these sites and possibly being contacted by a predator?
Right. And as far as parents, be nosy. It does not mean you do not love your kid. You're doing it because you do love your kid.
Okay.
And your children have to understand that the reason why mom and dad are looking at their cell phone or looking at their computer is to protect them. And I know a lot of parents say, "Well, I'm not looking at my kid's phone because that's his or her business." No, it's your business. It's your job to protect your child. Always scroll through their Facebook, scroll through their Instagram, whatever social media they have. It needs to be monitored by a parent, because even the innocent thing of parents putting pictures of their children on their Facebook page. You
Oh,
don't have your Facebook page secured. No telling who's going to see the picture of your child. And also, if you don't know who you actually added on your Facebook, and like I tell people, a lot of people you go to school with, we get older, they get older. They're not the same person we went to school with. Keep
mhm.
track of who you have on your Facebook. People
Okay.
change.
You are so right about that. Definitely, behaviors change. Let's talk about another aspect that I just thought about, and I'm sure you may see this. We know there are a lot of, I don't want to call them terrorist groups, but groups that are influential on children's behavior that may try to lure them, especially ones that are, seemingly in broken homes or situations that are unfavorable. And the teens are, I'm just like teens. They're looking for a way out. They're looking for something different. They're looking for place of belonging. And so there are, I'm sure predators, they're preying on those children as well. Do you see that often?
I think you hit the nail on the head more than you realize right there. Too many times I feel like when people hear the words human trafficking, they think of those situations where someone's trying to snatch a kid at a store or something like that. And what we see, and I'm sure Bill will tell you the same thing, what we see time and time again is that's not the majority of these cases. The majority of these cases are young women, just like you're talking about, that they long for something better. And it doesn't take much for somebody to come along and promise them the moon, so to speak. And then before long, they're wrapped up in something that they don't know how to get themselves out of sometimes.
Wow. So, Detective, what, again, what tips, what information can you give people um, to try to prevent this from happening?
To try and prevent it from happening, again, always have a good relationship with your kids, open, honest. Let them know that they can tell you everything. Because especially, I do internet crimes against children, but I also do crimes against children.
Okay.
And we're brought up as kids that sex is wrong, and that if we had sex or anybody has done anything sexual to us, the children feel like they're the ones that are going to be in trouble. And these predators will use that against them. Just like if they find two young teenagers and that have nothing to do, they invite them to a party. Well, kids think, well, hey, it's a chance to be popular, nothing else to do. I'm going to be like the older crowd and drink or do drugs or whatever they feel like to make them fit in. Well, and somebody records everything they're doing and they don't realize what they're doing. And now they got this over their head. Well, they don't want mom and dad to know that they were out drinking or they were out having sex or anything in that nature. And so now they've got this over them. And a lot of times they'll do whatever it takes to keep mom and dad, or even they'll tell him, how would you like your preacher to go about this? And so they won't, they're trapped, or they feel like they're trapped in that situation. And of course, we know that our kids can come to us, tell us that everybody makes mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's human nature. And we will understand, but what a kid looks like, they've done run their whole life, or that's what they feel.
Okay.
So they feel trapped.
And these traffickers and predators, they are very skilled at what they do. They
Okay.
they can really sell this to kids, and that's, we tell kids all the time, to be friendly and be open. But when it comes to this kind of thing, being too trusting can really hurt them.
I'm sorry.
Isn't it?
I hate that we have gotten here in our society where we have to feel like we have to keep our family under lock and key. But unfortunately, we have to, because there are people out there that are just trying to take it all away, and they have no care in the world about the consequences. Sometimes I've seen, the videos. You see these reenactment shows, but sometimes you get to see the real people, and some of them are what I consider psychopaths. They have no remorse, no consideration. They don't care. Their main goal is to conquer whatever their goal is, whatever their target is. um I don't, anyway. Yeah, I want to say good morning to a few people. I want to thank you all for watching. Ms. Court, Evans Hester, Megan Brown, Karen Met McKinney, and Vicki Lewis and Kelly Taylor. Thank you for checking in. Okay, so as we go into the holiday season, Detective Bill, is there anything that any is there anything new that parents may need to be aware of? I know there's a gazillion apps out there, and children, like you said, they think they are being innocent, but again, there's a predator somewhere on these apps.
Unfortunately, and because just like if I was a predator and my fetish was 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, I'm going to be on that app that 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds are going to be on. And I'm going to describe myself as a child. I won't talk to a child as a child. And it's just once they befriend them, they'll start asking inappropriate questions. And that's where being open with your kids and checking up on them will play a big part. That your child will be feel good enough to come to you and say, hey, this little kid on here asked me to send him a picture of my pee-pee, or this little kid asked me where I lived. And that's when the parent can step in and stop it and contact us, and we can check on it. Just make sure that either if it is a child, obviously that child needs some help, but more likely it's going to be a predator that we need to stop.
Okay.
When you're out in public, just pay attention to your child. I know everybody thinks of especially human trafficking as big white van pulling up, snatching a person, and then driving off. A lot of times that's not the case. That majority, I'd say 95% of the time, that's not the case. We haven't had that here in Jonesboro.
I've heard stories where it could be like another group of teenagers or another group of older women can go up to, a group or a individual person, and they've studied this person, probably more than just that one day. But they've studied their target, and then they pick the time to make their move, and they go in with this alluring language, so to speak. And you all can help me out with this, please. They seduce, for
Right.
lack of a better word. They seduce their target.
And any child they come in contact with, especially if a child has low self-esteem, if they're, say, the traffickers are out at a shopping center somewhere and they walk by a young teenager, speak to them, they keep their head down, don't look at them, they might mumble hi or something, then they'll say, hey, you sure are pretty. They'll keep their head down, keep on walking. Well, they know they can get to that person because more than likely that child doesn't have positive influences around him. People that are already telling him or her, hey, you're a pretty girl, you're a pretty boy, you're great, you're doing good in school, positive reinforcements. And so their self-esteem is low, and it makes it easier access for the predators or the traffickers.
And like I said, too often we get to thinking in our mind about strangers. It's stranger danger. It's somebody that we don't know, but far too often it is somebody that they know. It's someone they know from school, someone that maybe they think they know because they've been following them on social media. That's something that has just absolutely exploded for law enforcement, is investigations related to the things that are going on social media. And so that's how a lot of these people are making those connections too. And hey, I know this person, I've seen them on social media, but like I said, they promise them the moon. They just promise, say, hey, come over, hang out, we're gonna chill, and just be a nice little party and just be 2 or 3 people. And it may be that 2 or 3 times, half a dozen times. These predators are very patient in luring in their victims.
Wow. We have some comments from Karen McKinney. She says, sharing this, my son is grown, but many parents need to hear this. I was a single parent and it was difficult. I wasn't always my son's favorite, but my job description was being a parent, not a buddy. Again, you want to be the funny aunt all kids want to hang out with, but a parent must be a parent, steadfast, trustworthy, and that the child knows no matter what happens, what mama says they can take to the bank. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Karen. Yes, we have to be parents. I've seen too many cases where parents are so relaxed. I wasn't the best parent. I had some issues along the way. But I did try to keep a closer eye on my child. Where are you going? who are you with? I need to know where they live. Are their parents at home? I think sometimes as parents, our kids are in so many activities. That's another thing. Our kids are in so many activities, and we're not always the ones picking them up. So we don't know where they're going in between here and there.
And it can
Yeah.
happen fast too. And also, as parents, we need to make sure, like you said, not only that we're paying attention to what they're doing and that we're letting them know things are safe, we need to inform ourselves about how these things take place, inform ourselves about what we can do to help our kids, but we also have to inform our kids. And a lot of times I feel like I've met people that are like, well, I don't want my child to be afraid to go out, and I don't want to tell them about this, or I don't want to tell them about that. But
No.
we're not doing them a service if we're not informing them enough to help them protect themselves.
Yes. I want to ask, we have about 2.5 minutes left in this segment, but I do want to get into what have things been like since you all have brought in the agent from Homeland Security? How has she been able to help you all? Have you all been able to make more or strategic arrests when it comes to trafficking? And then what does it look like in Jonesboro? Do you feel that the residents are, I don't want to say clueless, because no one wants to think this is happening in their city. But do you feel that we need to be more aware of some things that we may not be aware of? I don't want to get too deep into that, but those are some things that I would love to cover on the other side of the break, as well as some other things that may be happening in Jonesboro. And Detective, during our break, even though we'll be still live on Facebook, maybe if you could share some apps or some ways parents. I know you can't give away too much, but anything you can share to help parents kind of get a jump start on how to be more vigilant. Maybe a specific app and some things you've seen without giving away, details of a case that you may be working on.
Right.
If you could do that. So for those of you that are listening on air, we're going to take a break here in about 1.5 minutes, and we're going to continue our conversation somewhat on Facebook. I don't want y'all to miss out. But again, as I said, we're going to, after the break, come back and talk about what has been like in Jonesboro since the agent has been here from Homeland Security. Arrests that may have been made, what we the citizens really need to be looking out for. Are we clueless to some things? I know at one time there was an old hotel that was being used. I want to say about a year or so ago, a bunch of people were caught and arrested. And so, what is it like now? And just, of course, they can't give away details of an ongoing case until, whatever happens. But I just want the people to be more informed. We have to get out of this bubble that we live in, and we just have to be more vigilant and more informed. And sadly, that's just the way it is. So again, you're tuning in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm your host, Kabila Jones. My special guests today are from the Jonesboro Police Department, Assistant Chief Lynn Waterworth and Detective Bill Brown. So we're going to take a quick break, but we'll still be live on Facebook if you would like to join us there. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after these announcements. Okay, so we're still on Facebook. So Detective Brown, is there any particular apps that you can clue us in on that parents need to be a little more vigilant about checking up on?
There are several apps that parents can get to mirror their child's phone, and
Okay.
most of them work pretty well the same. As far as one that I'd recommend, what I actually recommend is actually getting your kid's phone and looking at it.
Okay.
And just like your 10-year-old, they don't need a Facebook. There's no sense them having a Facebook or Instagram until, I believe, Facebook even got an age restriction on it till they're 14. They're not supposed to be on Facebook anyway. And so if you're giving them that access at an early age, you definitely need to monitor whatever social media account they have.
Okay.
I know like Snapchat, they have different files on there, and it's one file is for your eyes only that is
Yeah.
password protected. Parents should have that. If parents don't have that password, that child does not need Snapchat.
Okay.
If
All
you don't
right.
have access to every one of your child's social media accounts at any time, there's something they're hiding and they don't need that social media account.
Okay. Miss Karen says, I wish I would have a workshop, for lack of better words, on the different apps, etc. I personally try to stay informed and up to date, but technology is changing too rapidly that it is difficult to keep up. Are there any workshops, so to speak, on this introduction of the apps and how to, do some of the basic operations and maybe some of those hidden backdoor operations to these apps?
Over the
No,
years, we've done some things like that. Uh, Over the last several months, though, we've been kind of shut down because of, you know, group size limitations and things like that. But we have done some workshops for parents through the local schools here over the last several years. We
Well,
would like,
if we could arrange something outside of, community conversations, would you all be willing and open to do, even if it was, oh, and we're getting ready to go back in a minute. Even if it was, 1 hour, once a month, once a week, whatever time allows. Just maybe this month we're going to introduce this app, or this week, we'll work that out.
yeah.
Because we definitely
Yeah,
need to get our community engaged and
right.
informed.
And it's changing ever so fast. As soon as you get one app handled, there's another app they're bringing up.
I'm sorry. Welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm sorry to cut you off, Detective.
No, you're
I
fine.
didn't want to miss our rejoin. For those of you listening on Facebook, we have been having not a deep conversation, but trying to stay on top of this about the different apps. And for those of you on air, we're going to pick up our conversation with the topics I listed before we went to break. And so, as you may or may not know, the Jonesboro Police Department has enlisted the help of Homeland Security. This was last year. Was it last year when the agent came in?
it was, and as far as that type of investigations involving human trafficking or the internet crimes against children, we have been involved in that kind of thing at the Jonesboro Police Department for at least 10 years now.
Okay.
We are one of what's called a sub agency underneath the Arkansas State Police for the Arkansas internet crimes against children. So we've been working on that kind of investigative things for a number of years now. There are some things that are a little bit different with the new statutes that have come out and the federal statutes that exist regarding human trafficking. You know, there's some portion of that, or some, you know, well, I'm trying to think how to say it the best, but over the years, we've kind of already been doing this kind of investigation. We've always referred to it as prostitution. It's more involved than that. And
Okay.
human trafficking is, if you will, sort of a bigger version of that and a more involved version of that involves more actors. Now, with communication being what it is, with social media being what it is, we're not talking about just like a local, pimp that has some girls that are working here in town. We're talking things that cross state boundaries like never before. And everything is just so involved, and it's just not as simple, if you will. For Homeland Security to become involved, what that provides us with are resources that we didn't have before. Resources as far as being able to contact somebody in another state to help you with an investigation, being able to kind of compare notes, if you will, with people from other states. So the detectives that we have on board are very, they're more than capable. It's just that sometimes you don't have those resources with another agency, maybe in Texas or Georgia or Tennessee or somewhere like that, that you really need to have to be successful in taking down these bigger operations. And so some
Okay.
of those procedures and resources is what we've gained that has really helped us.
Okay. Miss Vicky and Karen have questions. Miss Vicky Lewis says, "Do you go to the schools on all these topics?" So I'm guessing the trafficking and the apps and different things of that nature. Have you gone to the schools in the past?
I have
Um,
gone to Micro Society and spoke with staff and teachers about this subject, but as far as talking to the children, I have not been to school to talk to the children.
okay. And Miss Karen at oh,
Well, I started to say, we've got a detective that just recently retired, Detective Ernest Ward, that was a school resource officer for a number of years. And so when he kind of transitioned into the internet crimes thing, it was just a natural sort of crossover for him. And he did for a number of years, I know, did talks for parents and talks for students at a lot of our schools. And the last, couple of school year cycles, we've just been kind of hampered to continue those conversations with anybody because of the COVID restrictions.
okay. And Miss Karen asks, "Can apps be hidden on a child's phone?" I can answer yes to that. There are apps, for example, that can look like a calculator, or that's just one example that I've seen, and it could be something else totally different. It could be a private file of some sort. It could hide private things, what things people want to hide. That's one example, but Detective Bill, what are some other examples you can give?
As far as things being hidden, well,
Or apps not looking like they can look like maybe a game, but a
right,
lot
and
of
that's with a lot of the apps, and even on the games, any games that have a chat feature on it is a potential contact from a predator. Um, just simple as Roblox, that a lot of kids, very popular with a lot of kids, well, it also has a chat feature. And again, if a predator is after a certain age group, that's the game he's going to be on, chatting to kids. And my best case scenario is to have a good look at your child's phone, open every app. I mean, they shouldn't have 300 apps on their phone.
okay.
There only should be a certain number of apps. All you need is your phone, your messaging for your, that way, because I know most teenagers and kids would rather text message than they would call their mom or dad. And then whatever social media or whatever games you allow your child to have. And it shouldn't be that hard to go through each app and take the time. Your child is definitely worth the investment.
Okay. All right. And so let's talk about, again, since the agent has been here, what has been the progress made when it comes to arrest, getting people off the streets, keeping kids safe?
It's the availability, like Assistant Chief was talking about earlier, availability of resources. That's been a great help. Being able to have the option to take cases federal versus state, it gives us a better option of which way to try the case. There's been a lot of positive having federal agencies here in Jonesboro.
And
All
if
right.
I can add to that just a little bit, we're getting ready to take that a step further because JPD often partners with a lot of these federal agencies, and we're already in the process of partnering further with HSI. Detective Brown and some of his colleague or another of his colleagues they're in the process of becoming what's called a task force officer. So
Okay.
they will be credentialed the exact same way that agent is. So that with that agent, even though they may be assigned here, they can't work just Jonesboro. They may be working up in southern Missouri, all the way as far south as West Memphis, where Detective Brown and his crew are more just primarily Craighead County. And so once they complete that and they become federal task force officers, they'll have the same resources available to them. And so that's kind of our next step in the process.
Okay. We have a comment from Miss Megan Mitchell Brown, and she actually runs an organization I would like for her to tell a little more about, and I'll have her on again later because the type of work she does kind of goes hand in hand with what
Definitely.
you all do. Megan says, I highly recommend parents to follow Protect Young Eyes. They're a great website that helps teach parents about the different apps, how to monitor their children's phones, what routers or programs to get to help you monitor pornography on phones, as well as cyberbullying and lots more, how to establish digital trust with their children, etc. They encourage not letting your kids, have a social media until they are in high school. Hashtag loving is waiting. She said, great information. Thank you for all that you do. Um, and so Miss Vicky says, a lot of kids do not have supervision by parents, unfortunately, and are more delicate. That's why the schools, everyone needs oh, that's why in the schools, everyone needs to be educated and get the school principals involved. This is, we have to start developing a village mentality, and we have to become neighbors of not just the people who live next door to us. This is a thriving community and it's growing, and more people are coming in from all around. And we don't know what type of attitudes and behaviors they're bringing into this community. So we have to be more vigilant and more aware and more protective of our children, and young adults, because I think we often leave out sometimes the young adults, those that are 25 and under, well, 19 to 25. They're still at an impressionable age. Um, we may think, okay, they're over 18, they're grown, their body may be bigger, but their mindset is not always as mature. So we need to look out for those young people as well. Would you like to add to that, Detective?
No, I mean that's very true. We definitely have to look out for our children's, our neighborhood, our schools, and it's kind of like when I first got into trafficking. It was several years ago, and I wasn't I wasn't looking for it. It basically found me on a case I was working, and until you actually see it, you walk past it every day, and it just looks like normal life going on. But until you start looking for all the different signs and that is involved in trafficking, it's just a normal everyday scenario that you feel like you're going on because you're not paying attention, because we don't think about that's happening here in Jonesboro or that's happening here in Arkansas. It's in the bigger cities.
Wow.
And so just got to keep our eyes open and, like you said, watch out for our children.
All righty.
So that's where organizations like the one that Megan Brown has, Hope Found, that's where organizations like that are so vital to our community. So like we do what we can, and the schools do what they can, but we need organizations like that that can come in and help educate the public. That's like I said, inform yourself, inform your kids. We've got to be educated about these things in order to be able to spot those situations where we can help.
That's right. So I just want to say thank you to all that you all do, to try to keep our children safe. And I know, Detective Brown, your job is not easy at all. You have to constantly be on the computer looking at images that we can only, well, we don't want to think about.
Right.
And So again, parents, caregivers, community members, let's step up and be more vigilant and protective of our young people in our communities. And if you see something, as Chief always says, you see something, say something. And we need to become more aware of our surroundings, period. You know, especially nowadays, there's always someone looking to take advantage of a situation. You're going to a store, they're looking for the distracted person. You know, they're looking for who can they take advantage of, who is the so-called weaker person. And so please, and especially going to the holiday season now, there are going to be people out and about. And unfortunately, we are in the middle of a pandemic, but there are still people out and about. And we just have to be more aware and more vigilant. That's just the bottom line. And it's not to try to scare anybody. We just need to step up. That's all I can say. So I know, switching gears just a little bit, Leganzi did want to talk about, the recent death of an officer in West Helena. And, how does that change the mood of police departments around? I know you can't speak for all police departments, but how does it change the mood for police departments, like here in Jonesboro? We are trying our best to work on community relations. And so hearing something like that and how that went down, I'm sure it has to make you feel a little more tense in some ways. And so do you feel that it affects our community relationships and we have to work harder now to, I don't know, rebuild or build? What are your
Well,
thoughts?
we always need to work harder. As far as the death of the officer in Helena, West Helena, I think when it's that close to your own agency, it there's always a difference. I remember the first time a law enforcement officer was killed that I knew personally. And it does affect you and you think about things differently. You kind of realize more for your own self, how quickly things can go bad. But as far as our community and relationships with our community, it we can always do better. Always we can do better. And we need to just not ever forget to just keep reaching out. I know there was a lot of on the part of the officers back when we first started trying to do some community meetings and things like that. Well, at first, they're well attended and everybody's excited about it. And then it kind of starts to get, a little mundane or whatever, and you don't have community members showing up. And then the officers get disheartened and they don't want to do it anymore. Or maybe somebody did show up that was negative and had negative things to say. We cannot let that stop our efforts to build those relationships. We've got to keep working at that always.
Okay. So again, City of Jonesboro, hopefully in 2021, we can increase, I guess you say, those engagements. I understand most things will have to be virtual or in a very limited capacity if there is a gathering, but we do need to continue these engagements. I personally feel if 2 people show up, we need to give them the same energy as if 20 people showed up. And I think if we
sometimes
show,
2 is better.
yeah. And I feel like if we show consistency, not we just us, but we as a whole, if we show consistency, then more people will say, okay, let me see what this is about. Let me do my part as a citizen of Jonesboro, Craighead County, NEA, wherever you live. Let me do my part and try to increase the relationship between the police department. No matter how we feel, the police department is our protect and serve department. Like, we are who you call in case of an emergency. You know, I'm gonna not get on that soapbox today. I do know, yes, there needs to be some increased relationships around the world, but we can only take care of our community right now. So, and I'm sorry.
We do have a great community and we have great mechanisms, just like what we're doing right here this morning. Just fantastic opportunities to reach out. If somebody was watching this on Facebook Live and had a question, I would hope that they would understand, I want them to know that we want to hear from them. We want to know, did something not go right? Did something go really right? Either way, we want to know about it. We really do want to make things better. That is why we're here, to make things safer and better for everybody in our community, because we live in this community.
Yes. Yeah, so I want to thank you all. Detective Brown, in our last two, well, not our last two, but the last 2 minutes of this segment, is there anything you would like to add?
No, but well, yes, I guess there is, because as far as like the community relation, it's come up and speak to us. We're people. A lot of times you'll have parents that are, when you meet them out in restaurants, they'll tell their kid, if you don't act right, he's going to take you to jail. I tell them, no, if you don't act right, you can come work with me for a while. I ain't taking you to jail. I need the help. Make it to where we're more approachable for the kids.
That's a better alternative. And I'm sure
Yes.
no kid wants to do extra chores. So
That's right.
they'll behave in that respect. Um, want to say thank you for Karen, Megan, Vicky, for your comments. Ms. Karen says, oh, sorry, Vicky. Thank you for helping and staying on top. I have beautiful grandkids. Megan says, thank you, praying for our JPD. And Karen says, that is correct. It all starts at the local level. Hashtag Jonesboro Strong. Nothing keeps us together as one community. And thank you, JPD. And thank you, Mr. Henry Burrell, for checking in. He says, nice segment. We all have a part to play. We just have to look at what makes us more similar than different, or even look at what makes us different and appreciate those differences and try to work together within the scope of our possibilities to embrace those differences and live in a more harmonious community. I know that's far-fetched, but we can live in a more harmonious, not perfect, but a more harmonious community. With that, we're going to take a quick break. For those of you listening on air, we're going to still be live on Facebook and continue our conversation, but we'll be back after these announcements. If you would like to join us, join the conversation, join us on Facebook, KLEK 102.5 FM, and we'll be right back after these announcements. Okay. I have to try to watch myself because I get a little passionate about some things. And yeah, my passion can override
It's very understandable.
So
We need people who are passionate about things. People who are passionate about things are the people who change things that need to be changed.
you know, I know that there is no perfect police department. I'm not going to say I'm sure you all have seen things in JPD. I know the tensions are high all across the United States. There was a story that came out in Florida, police involved shooting involving teenagers. And you look at the whole case, and of course there's an argument for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You just wish what happened did happen. However, there's a bunch of different factors in this case. And so it makes you angry that this person did this, that contributed to this. And oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, my passion just,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a police officer, so I can't say what you're thinking and feeling in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do I wish some things would go differently? Of course.
Oh yeah. And you have to remember too, we feel that same way. We see things that happen, we're watching. I've told people that things went horribly wrong in places that were states away from us. And we look at it and we're just like, I mean, are you kidding? Are you serious? And we can't believe that things happen the way they happen either. And so even as police officers, we have a lot of those same feelings ourselves that the public may feel when they look at some of these incidents. But we also have an understanding too, from our side of it, and the things that we're greeted with, that maybe weren't warranted sometimes. I think about, we have just this year, a school resource officer shared with me that she was doing story time at the school where she serves, and was reading some stories to kids, and gets to talking to them and wanting them to feel more comfortable with police officers. Hey, and this is what we do, and blah blah blah, and what do you know about the police? And one of the kids jumped up real quick and said, oh, I know what the police do. My mom told me they shoot people. How do you ever how do you work against that? That was a 5-year-old. What is that 5-year-old? I mean, if that 5-year-old has been taught that already, how can I ever gain that 5-year-old's trust? Because they don't know me. And that's the bad thing that we end up in a lot of times is, as my niece used to say when she was a little kid, they don't know my life. And we don't know their lives. Sadly, we're called into the middle of their lives in sometimes one of the most stressful, traumatic situations ever, and then asked to work through it and fix it.
Okay. We got 5 seconds. Sorry. Welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. I'm your host, Kalila Jones, and my special guests today are from the Jonesboro Police Department. We have Assistant Chief Lynn Waterworth and Detective Bill Brown for Internet Crimes Against Children. And Detective, I hope you have a therapist on deck for all of the things that you have to endure on a daily basis as you scour the internet to keep our children safe and take these predators off the street.
Oh, I got a wonderful therapist. He died on the cross for me a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
I keep him in my heart all the time. I have to go to him several times a day.
Well, I do just want to say thank you on behalf of KLEK for the work that you do behind the scenes, the things that we have no clue about that's happening on the internet. And now that the technology is advancing, there are just more and more ways for predators to try to get to our children. We have a few more comments from our Facebook watchers. Beverly Lee says, thank you, very informative. Miss Karen says, if we were all the same, one of us will be obsolete. We all have gifts to bring to the table. Mr. Henry says, good morning. As Officer Brown and Assistant Chief Waterworth, are you available to be contacted for further discussion? How can I get their contact information? Okay, we'll definitely get that information to you, Mr. Henry, on how to reach these individuals concerning this topic and others. Mr. Henry is another community advocate. He's fairly new to Jonesboro, but he is doing his best to bridge some gaps and help build a better community. So I hope that you all can connect very soon and get some things going, some discussions happening. So thank you, Mr. Henry. And thank you to everyone.
I will say right quick too, anybody who wants to contact me, you can go to our website and there's a link right there to send me an email.
Okay, so is it Jonesboro? I'm sorry, what is it?
JonesboroPolice.com.
Okay. JonesboroPolice.com. And so all of the top officers, I guess you say, on the website.
Yes.
Okay.
And there are numbers there, contact information. If nothing else, there's always the contact us button that will get to somebody who will make sure that we get the messages. And then that way we can start a more personal conversation with those folks.
Okay. I've been having a discussion with Mr. Bill Campbell, the communications director for the city of Jonesboro, about what can we do next year just to raise awareness and show appreciation for our community. I would love to do something in March in recognition of when the tornado hit, but I love this hashtag Jonesboro Strong. I don't know who came up with it, but I think we need to keep that in our hearts and minds going forward and continue to be a strong Jonesboro, a strong community, to take care of our children, to take care of those less fortunate, to take care of those that just don't have what we have. We need to get out of our bubbles again and be more vigilant, more aware, more protective. That's my message for today. I'm sorry. So, as we get ready to close out, Detective Brown, um, are any final words you would like to say?
Well, I appreciate you inviting me on, and especially talking about this subject, especially keeping our kids safe. I mean, that's the main focus. And again, like I said, the people don't realize that this does happen here in Jonesboro. It's not just other big cities where their kids can find predators online or predators find their kids online, because it's World Wide Web. And they're from all over coming here to Jonesboro or coming through the airwaves to Jonesboro. Just be mindful of what your kids are doing on their social media, their cell phones, who they're talking to. Be mindful of them when you're out in town with them. Always keep an eye on them, and always start a relationship where they know they can come to you for anything.
And I do want to say this, that I didn't bring it up earlier. You can put a family locator or a phone locator. With iPhone, it's Find My Phone. I know sometimes phones get lost, but most kids have their phones on them at some point. Again, don't be afraid to be that person in your child's life. Be your child's, I hate to say police officer, but I don't know how
No,
else to
it's be
put
your
it.
child's parent. And it's just like, unfortunately, my kids, I don't look at my kids' cell phone because they're adults,
Okay.
but I look at my grandkids' cell phones.
Okay.
Every time they come to the house, if I want to look at their phone, they know, hand it to Pops. They have no problem with it. They know
And
Pops is going to look at it. But
are they
it's
aware
not
of what you
because I
do?
don't trust them. It's because I love them.
Mhm.
Are they aware of your job duties, and do you give them a little?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are aware of or a little bit of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Assistant Chief, we have about 3 minutes. Any final words for the end of the year? I know we might do another special segment before the year is out, but as we get ready to go into our Christmas holiday, any final words from JPD?
Just again, you have to be informed. Inform yourself and be aware of your surroundings. I will say shopping season's a little different this year. We have masks on and things like that, which may make us a little more suspicious of people. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but just be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you put your packages away, and make sure there's somebody to collect the packages off your porch as well. We haven't had very many reports so far of any porch pirates, but that's always a big thing this time of year because so many packages are being delivered. I will say this too. You mentioned a hashtag. We have our own at the PD that we came up with. It's Better Together. And we're better together. Our community is filled with so many people that work so diligently. I mean, look at how many meals are provided and toys for children this time of year and things like that. And we just got to make sure we keep that mentality and that generosity and that mindset going year round.
All righty. Well, I can't thank you all enough for joining us and sharing this information. I want to give a shout out to Leganzi. He wasn't feeling well this morning. He wanted to be here. Hope he's feeling better. And so, again, thank you all for all that you do. I know that usually the JPD, or is it JPD or FOP that does Shop with the Cop?
Yeah, that's the FOP, Fraternal Order of
Okay.
Police.
All
But
right. So
it's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
what that's going to. Is it still Detective? Is it Detective Nathan Coleman over that?
it's Sergeant Nathan Coleman.
Ooh, I'm so sorry, Sergeant Coleman.
Okay.
He's gonna kill me. So if anyone is interested in that program and seeing what they're doing this year, reach out to Sergeant Coleman with JPD. Um, and anything else happening community-wise. I know again we have to distance and reduce our gathering, but anything else happening concerning JPD in the community this year for the rest of the year?
As far as JPD, we don't have a lot going on. A lot of the things that that I know have been postponed or put off or things, even our own kind of our own JPD gathering Christmas party.
Oh,
We're not going to be doing just because we're trying to social distance. And so we still want people to, like I said, keep that Christmas spirit going. It's kind of hard sometimes when you can't have the larger gatherings, but they will be doing Shop with a Cop. It'll just look a little different this year.
okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for the community of Jonesboro for supporting Kelly K. Thank you to everyone who tuned in this morning and for sharing this video, and continue the discussion with your children, with your family, with your friend circle. Let's start elevating our conversation, being more aware, being more vigilant, and being more protective. Those are my 3 words for today. And so thank you all for tuning into Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. All right, so we are off air, and I'm going to stop the live feed here. Thank you all so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes.